This is Rob Long with Martini Shot for The Ankler. When I started my career at Paramount Studios, it was officially called something like Paramount, a Gulf and Western company. That's what it said in loopy italics under the Paramount Mountain, and that's what it said on everything with the Paramount logo. Gulf and Western back then was a classic conglomerate. It was run by a guy in New York who really didn't have much to do with the movie business except to head out to LA every now and then and swan around like a big shot. And then the name was changed, well, shortened really, to just Paramount, no Gulf, no Western. And the name was officially, I think, Paramount Communications Incorporated, ticker symbol PCI, and that's probably when the handwriting began to appear on the wall. Movie businesses are about, a lot of things, but communication isn't really one of them. And building a giant business or trying to on the basis of a flimsy, erratic, volatile industry run and staffed by emotionally unstable people is, let's just say, unwise. At the time, Gulf and Western owned a bunch of other businesses that were so boring no one really remembers them now, and that was probably a very good thing for the quarterly earnings, at least. A few years after becoming Paramount Communications, though, another company with a meaningless name, Viacom, tried to buy it. The owner of that company was an erratic and unstable man himself named Sumner Redstone, and that was probably his most show business attribute, actually, that and a willingness to sue anything and everyone that moved for any reason. And he called the made-up nonsense company he formed Viacom, but he was the only one I ever heard pronouncing it that way. We just said Viacom. Now, before Redstone got his slightly unhinged hands on Paramount, Barry Diller fought him for months and months for control of the company, some of which is recounted in Diller's terrific new book, Who Knew, which I read recently and absolutely loved. But all I can remember about that struggle for Paramount was that I was at Paramount at the time with a production deal in an office suite in the bottom floor of the Bob Hope building, and that I had a shower in my office and some PCI stock, not much, that I bought for $34 and sold at the end of the takeover war for $108. Now, I was still there a few years later when Paramount merged, well, it's unclear who merged with whom, with CBS. Redstone and Viacom taking over CBS if you listen to Redstone and Viacom. CBS effectively taking over Viacom if you listen to CBS executives, all of whom got bigger jobs in the combined company. And what everyone said was symmetry, convergence, efficiency of scale. And I was still there at Paramount a few years later when Redstone decided that Viacom was better as two separate entities. I guess asymmetry being better for some reason, somehow, and deconvergence being smarter and more efficient, somehow, for some reason, a few years later. And so CBS and Paramount became two companies under the same crazy old man who by that time had begun to exhibit signs of strange and unpredictable behavior, even for a show business executive. But the key thing to remember is this. Well, two key things, actually. The first one is that I remember all of this because for most of that time, I was still in an office in the Bob Hope building, doing exactly what I was supposed to do, write and produce and create TV shows. And it didn't really matter who owned or managed the studio because they had no idea what I did or who I was anyway. They were thinking big, and I was thinking small. They were thinking about the future of show business, and I was just thinking about the present. Now, the other thing to conclude about all of this is that I am really, really old. I mean, it's not even a joke now. But all of this is to say to the new owners of Paramount, which I guess is a collection of the bloodied and stumbling companies that resembles its old self still a little bit, especially since it's just been through a complicated and bruising takeover battle involving someone named Redstone, somebody I've never met, but who seems a lot more emotionally stable than the old man, and someone else with vague tech credentials. But the point is, my advice here is based on a long stretch in the Bob Hope building, watching you guys buy and sell and combine and buy and sell and break apart whatever people are calling at that moment Paramount Studios. So here's where I think the previous owners and managers of Paramount went wrong. They thought big. My advice is to think small, which I know is counterintuitive show business advice. People have come to Hollywood since the beginning in order to make it big. It's in our DNA out here to think big and to be big and to go big. But the key to success, really, I know, hard to believe, but the key to success, keep it small. Think small. Think the present. Don't think about the future. You succeed at small, the big will take care of itself. You succeed at the present, the future will take care of itself. Nobody in show business wants to hear this, but it's true. For all the years I was at Paramount watching executives fight about control, my job was essentially the same. The marketplace and distribution methods evolved, but the job was always to write and produce little plays on film for people to watch. And by small, I mean this. Not that you shouldn't be swinging for the fence with every title and project, but you shouldn't be spending in order to make this happen. Show business is about luck and hope, which is why shareholders of media companies are often so disappointed. But luck and hope are mostly free. If you look carefully at the mistakes that some of the big media companies have made, they're just amplified versions of the mistakes companies have made in Hollywood for decades. Investing in big projects at the expense of smaller ones, paying too much for talent and assets, starting streaming services, and my favorite, forgetting the foundational elements of the show business economy. One, that there is always someone with a great idea and real talent who also has rent to pay, and so who will take a little less. And two, as long as you have some money to spend, people will want to sell you their creative work product. And three, there is always someone with a distribution channel or platform or a movie theater or a screen who needs content and who will pay you to license it. There is no reason to own the whole table. That only looks efficient. All it really does is force you to buy from people you're already paying instead of from a large and fractious marketplace of hungry and entrepreneurial artists. In other words, keep it small. Just make movies and TV shows, a lot of them, and keep a lid on the price. Let your competitors pay through the nose and get soaked and bled white. Hard to remember, I know, but here's my homework for the next group of executives that the next iteration of Paramount Studios, a Gulf and Western company, becomes. Just watch the movie Moneyball. It's a movie with Brad Pitt, directed by Bennett Miller, and it's about how a manager at the Oakland A's baseball team, which had a losing record, changed the way they recruited players. Instead of spending big on the superstars, they looked for the smaller stars, the players hitting singles and doubles. On-base percentage, they called it. That's probably the best show business advice you could get right now. Go for singles and doubles. They're cheaper, and they really do turn into runs. Moneyball, for your information, is available on Netflix, or it was until a month ago. Now it's on Apple TV and YouTube and Amazon Prime and Google Pay and Fandango. See what I mean about distribution? And that's it for this week. Next week, we have a hit on our hands. For The Ankler, this is Rob Long with Martini Shot.